stop scrolling for a moment. Not because something is wrong, because something in you might be tired of pushing on a door that refuses to move, no matter how hard you lean into it. You have knocked. You have waited. You have stood there so long that the waiting itself started to feel like the entire story. Like this is just who you are now. Someone standing at a door. If that's you tonight, keep watching. This isn't some random video that happened to land in front of you between two others you'll forget by morning. It's a message for anyone standing exactly where you're standing right now. And there are more of you than you think. More than you'd guess, from how quiet and alone this particular kind of waiting tends to feel. So, take a breath. Let your shoulders drop even half an inch. Put down whatever you are about to do next. Stay with this for a while. It gets deeper before it gets lighter, and the part you need most might not be the first part. You didn't open this because you're desperate. You opened it because some part of you still believes there's more coming. Even after everything that's tried to talk you out of believing that, that part of you hasn't given up. And that part is not being naive. Whatever else has gone quiet in you lately, that part is usually the one that turns out to be right. Maybe you've been standing in front of the same closed door for a long time now. A job that hasn't come through. A relationship that ended before it became what you hoped it would be. A dream you stopped saying out loud because it's easier than watching someone's face when you admit it hasn't happened yet. Maybe you've stopped praying about it the way you used to, not because you stopped believing entirely, but because you got tired of asking and not hearing anything come back. Maybe you've started saying, "I'm not really thinking about it anymore," to people who ask, when the truth is you think about it constantly, just quietly now, in the parts of the day nobody else sees. That's all right. You're still here. You're still watching this instead of something easier. That counts for more than you probably give yourself credit for. Let's actually name what this waiting has felt like, instead of rushing past it the way everyone else in your life tends to. The opportunity that fell through right when it finally looked solid enough to trust. The relationship that ended before it became what you quietly hoped it would. The apology you never got. From someone who knew exactly what they'd done and chose silence instead. The plan you built for months carefully, patiently watching it come apart in a single phone call, a single sentence, a single, "Actually, we've decided to go another way." You have watched other people's doors open. You clapped for them, and you meant it mostly. And then you went home, sat in the quiet, and wondered, just for a second, why yours stays shut when theirs didn't. You've asked what you did wrong. Lying awake, replaying conversations, wondering if there was a version of you that could have done something differently to make this go faster. You've wondered if you're being punished, or overlooked, or simply passed by while everyone else keeps moving and you stay exactly where you are. You've smiled through rooms full of people while carrying something heavy enough to sit down under, and nobody in that room ever knew. You've said, "I'm okay," so many times it stopped feeling like a lie and started feeling like a job you go to every day. There's a particular ache that comes from watching someone else's door open, scrolling past their new job, their healed relationship, their sudden good news, and doing the math in your head before you can stop yourself. Years since you started waiting. Years it apparently took them to get theirs. You know, comparison doesn't actually help anything. You do it anyway sometimes, especially on the harder nights. That doesn't make you petty or ungrateful. It makes you someone who is still paying close attention to their own life, still hoping loudly enough on the inside to notice exactly when someone else's hope gets answered first. None of that makes you weak. None of it means you're doing this wrong. That is simply what it feels like to be human and still be waiting for the phone to ring, for the door to move, for the season to finally turn. You've carried most of this alone, not because no one loves you, because this particular kind of tired is hard to explain out loud without sounding dramatic or ungrateful or like you're not handling it well. So, "I'm fine" has been doing a lot of work for you lately, heavy lifting every single day. Here's something worth hearing clearly, maybe for the first time in a while. You're allowed to say it wasn't fine. You're allowed to say the waiting has been heavy, that it's worn you down in ways you haven't fully said out loud to anyone. Naming that isn't weakness. Pretending it wasn't heavy, that's the part that actually wears a person down further. Some of what you've carried through this waiting season, you have never said out loud to a single person. Not because you're hiding it, but because there was never quite the right moment, or the right person, or the right amount of energy left at the end of the day to explain it properly. The quiet fear that this is simply how your life is going to be from now on. The tiredness of hoping in private while performing steadiness in public, day after day, for people who have no idea what it's costing you. The specific ache of watching people who started later than you end up further ahead, and trying, and mostly failing, not to let that turn into something bitter and small. These are the battles nobody else sees. No bruises, no evidence anyone could point to. Just you, most nights. Quietly deciding all over again whether to keep believing in a door that hasn't moved in what feels like forever. Fighting that battle without an audience, without anyone telling you that you're doing it right, without a single person clapping for how well you've held it together. That takes a kind of strength that rarely gets credit. It's about to get some now. There's an old idea, far older than any of us watching this tonight, about a guardian who stands watch at thresholds at doorways, at the exact places where danger and destiny happen to meet. Archangel Michael is remembered less as a messenger who simply delivers news, and more as a defender, the one associated with standing guard where something important is at stake, sword lowered but ready not for violence, but for cutting away whatever doesn't belong near what's being protected. And in that old language, a door was never just wood and a hinge. A door was a boundary, a threshold, a place worth standing watch over. You may be sensing something similar about your own waiting, that it was never actually empty, even though it felt that way on the hardest nights. That while you stood there, frustrated, exhausted, wondering if anyone even noticed how long you'd been standing there, something on the other side of that door was being guarded, not kept from you, kept safe until it was finished, until it was ready to be handed to someone who could actually carry it without it falling apart in their hands. Think of Michael's role less as the one who flings the door open the instant you ask, and more as the one who made absolutely sure nothing broke in while it was still shut. A defender doesn't rush the timing just because the waiting is uncomfortable. A defender protects what's forming, even when the person on the other side of the door can't see any of it happening. Old depictions of Michael almost always include light a blade that catches it, armor that reflects it, a presence associated with cutting through darkness rather than adding to it. Not fire that destroys, fire that clears space for something new to be built. If you felt a strange, stubborn flicker of hope in the middle of an otherwise dark season, the kind you couldn't fully explain or talk yourself out of, no matter how hard the circumstances argued against it, that flicker fits the pattern. It's usually small. It's usually enough. This isn't a promise that everything you've been praying for lands tonight or this week or on some specific date someone could circle on a calendar. No message, no video, no voice including this one can honestly hand you that kind of certainty. Anyone who tells you they can is telling you what you want to hear, not what's actually true. And you deserve better than that. What can be said, carefully and honestly, is this. A closed door and an abandoned door are not the same thing. Not even close. You have not been abandoned in this. You have been guarded. Stay with this a little longer, because the next part is where it actually starts to shift. Not the door yet. Not the moment it opens. First, what was really happening on the other side of it. This entire time you assumed nothing was happening at all. While you were waiting, something was happening that you simply couldn't see from where you were standing. Not nothing. It was never nothing, even on the days it felt like the most nothing that has ever happened to anyone. The version of you who first walked up to that door earlier, younger, less tired, could not have carried what's waiting on the other side of it. Not yet. Not without it breaking something in you that needed to stay whole. So, The waiting wasn't punishment. It was construction. Quiet, unglamorous, completely unfilmed construction. Happening in a version of you that nobody was clapping for, that no one even knew to look for. Every season you kept your integrity when no one was watching mattered, even though it felt invisible. Every night you chose to stay soft instead of letting this experience turn you bitter mattered, even though bitterness would have been so much easier. Every time you almost gave up, and then, for reasons you couldn't fully explain even to yourself, didn't that mattered more than you'll probably ever be told directly. You were not stuck all this time. You were being reinforced one unremarkable, uncelebrated day at a time. Picture the door. For a moment. Really picture it, the grain of the wood, the weight of it when you've leaned your whole body against it, the exact place where your hand has rested more times than you could ever count. Outside that door, there has been a storm. Loud, long, the kind that makes you brace yourself against the nearest wall and wonder, honestly and without exaggeration, if it's ever going to let up. That storm was never proof that you were left out there in it alone. Storms don't gather around empty houses. They gather around thresholds that actually matter, around doors that are about to become significant to everyone who eventually hears your story. But storms end. Not because you were finally strong enough to force one to stop through sheer will. They end because that is simply what storms do, every single time, eventually, whether anyone is watching or not. And if you listen closely tonight, actually listen, past the noise that's been living in your own head for months, the wind on the other side of your door has already begun to change. There has been something holding that door shut besides your own patience running thin. Some of it was fear, yours, and other people's fear, projected onto you until it started to feel indistinguishable from your own. Some of it was timing that had nothing to do with your worth and everything to do with pieces you simply couldn't see yet from where you were standing. Some of it, strange as it might sound, was protection the door held shut on purpose so you wouldn't walk through too early, into an answer that wasn't finished being built, into a room that wasn't ready to hold you yet. Whatever has actually been locking it, old rejection you never fully processed, old grief you learned to carry quietly, a season that simply dragged on longer than it reasonably should have. That grip is loosening now. Not with violence, not with some dramatic crash you'll hear echoing from 3 rooms away. Quietly, almost gently. The way a closed fist finally unclenches after it forgot it was ever holding on to anything at all. If this were a real door standing in front of you right now, and you looked all the way down to the bottom edge of it, there would be a thin line of light running along the floor. It was always there. You simply couldn't see it clearly from where you were standing, buried in the middle of the weight, staring hard at the wood in front of you instead of the light quietly gathering underneath it. That line of light is getting wider. Slowly, steadily, whether you feel ready for it tonight or not. This is usually the part where people expect something enormous. One single dramatic night where the sky splits open and everything changes at once, all at the same time and in a way everyone around them notices immediately. Sometimes it does happen that way, but more often a door opens quietly. A phone call you weren't expecting on an ordinary afternoon. A decision that suddenly feels obvious after months of confusion. Someone saying the exact sentence you've needed to hear for longer than you'd admit. A door that's been jammed for years suddenly turning easily, almost embarrassingly easily, on a completely ordinary Tuesday. No one watching this can honestly tell you the exact date. Anyone who names a specific night and promises you that's the night is telling you what you want to hear, not what's true. And that kind of certainty isn't something this message or any message can responsibly hand you. What can honestly be said is this: doors that have been guarded this long tend to open for reasons that will finally make sense once you're standing on the other side of them, looking back at everything that had to happen first. There were nights you almost walked away from that door completely. Be honest with yourself about that for a moment. There's no shame in it. Nights you thought about giving up on the job, the relationship, the dream, the version of your life you'd been quietly hoping for. Nights it would have been so much easier to decide the door was never opening and to just walk away and build a smaller life around a smaller hope. One that couldn't disappoint you the way this one kept threatening to. You didn't do that. Something in you, call it stubbornness, call it faith, call it whatever fits you best, kept you standing there one more day and then one more after that. That decision, made quietly and privately on nights nobody else witnessed, is part of why you're still close enough to this door to hear it starting to move. Every meaningful door in history had someone standing in front of it, first arms tired, doubts loud, wondering out loud or in silence if it was ever actually going to give. Every strong thing that now looks inevitable to everyone watching from the outside. Every restored relationship, every unlikely provision, every door that finally swung open after years of absolutely nothing happening, started exactly the way yours has. With someone standing in the dark, unsure, choosing quietly and without fanfare to stand there one more day than felt reasonable. You are not the first person to stand exactly where you're standing right now. You won't be the last either, but none of that makes your particular waiting any less significant. If anything, it makes it part of something larger than just you. A long, mostly invisible line of people who refuse to leave before their door finished opening. When it opens, you won't need to force your way through it. You'll recognize it the way you recognize your own name being called across a crowded, noisy room. Somehow cutting cleanly through every other sound in the space. Something in you will simply know. This one. Walk through this one. Not every open door is meant for you to walk through, and that's worth saying clearly. Some doors swing open just to prove to you that they were never really locked in the first place, so you can finally stop throwing your weight against them and save that strength for something that actually matters. That's not failure. That's information, and information is useful. But when the right one opens, there tends to be a strange kind of quiet in your chest instead of panic. A settledness, almost like relief arriving before the actual event does. That quiet is worth trusting far more than the loud, urgent voice that's been telling you to force things for months now. So, hear this clearly, over whatever else has been loud in your life lately. You are not someone who missed their moment. You are not behind some invisible schedule that everyone else seems to be keeping perfectly while you fall further back. You are not being punished for something you can't even name, no matter how many times that thought has crossed your mind at 2 in the morning. You are not weak for how tired this waiting has made you. Exhaustion after a long season isn't weakness. It's evidence you are actually carrying something the whole time. You are not foolish for still hoping quietly, even after everything that's tried to talk you out of it. You are not defined by how long a door happened to stay shut, no matter how long that turned out to be. You are not too old for this. You are not too late for this. You are not too far behind to still walk through what's coming. You are someone who kept showing up to a door that wasn't opening yet, day after day, with no audience and no applause and no guarantee it would ever move. That is not nothing. In fact, it might be the single most important thing about you right now. The quiet, unglamorous thing that will matter most once you're finally standing on the other side of everything you've been carrying. Your story didn't end at that door. No matter how long you stood there, it's still being written. You are not the sum of the doors that stayed shut longer than you wanted them to. You are not a cautionary tale that gets whispered about when people talk about waiting too long for something that never showed up. You get to help decide how this particular chapter ends, and standing here tonight, still watching, still willing to hope, even after everything, you're already writing it well. And more often than not, some of the strongest chapters happen right on the other side of the ones that felt longest to get through, so what do you actually do while it finishes opening? Breathe. Not the shallow kind that stays trapped in your chest. The kind that reaches your stomach and slows your heart down by half a beat. The kind you have to remind yourself to do on purpose. Stop throwing your weight against doors that have already told you no, clearly, more than once. Save your strength for the one that's actually moving. There's a difference between persistence and exhausting yourself against something that was never going to give. Keep your heart soft, even now, even after everything. Bitterness has a quiet way of talking you out of walking through a door. Even after it finally opens, it convinces you the good thing arrived too late to matter, too late to enjoy. Don't let it win that particular argument. It's lying to you. Let go of needing a full explanation for the delay. You may never get one, not fully, not in a way that ties everything into a neat bow, and that's all right. Some things make sense looking backward that made no sense at all while you were living through them. Watch for the smaller doors along the way. Sometimes the big one you've been waiting for arrives disguised as a small one. First, an invitation you almost turned down, a conversation you almost skipped, a decision you almost talked yourself out of making because it seemed too minor to matter. Resist the pull to compare your door to someone else's timeline. Their door was never running on your clock, and yours was never running on theirs. The two were never actually racing each other, even though it can feel that way at 2 in the morning. Comparing them will only make both feel worse than either one actually is. And when the moment finally comes to take a step forward, take it, not recklessly, just bravely. One foot, then the other. Even if your hands are still shaking a little when you finally reach for the handle. If this found you in the middle of a waiting season, and some part of you is choosing right now, tonight, in this exact moment to believe the door is actually moving, type, "I receive this," in the comments below. Not because typing it guarantees anything on its own. It doesn't work like a switch. But saying a thing out loud, even in a comment box on a video, is sometimes the first small, brave step toward actually believing it again. If this gave you even a little peace tonight, take a second and like this video. It genuinely helps this message find the next person out there standing quietly at their own closed door, wondering if anyone sees them. If someone in your life just came to mind while you were watching this, someone who's been waiting a long time and hasn't said much about it out loud, send this to them. You might not know how much they need to hear it today, or how long it's been since anyone checked on that particular ache. And if messages like this help you keep walking through hard seasons with a little more steadiness than you had before, consider subscribing. There will be more here, waiting for whenever you need it next. Wherever you're watching this from tonight, on the couch, in the car, wide awake at an hour, you wish you weren't here this before you go. You weren't standing at that door by accident. Not because it was written specifically for you and no one else in the entire world, but because doors like this one eventually find everyone who refuses to stop believing there's more coming, even when the evidence in front of them says otherwise. The waiting was not wasted. The silence on the other side of your prayers was not empty, even when it felt that way for far longer than you'd like to admit to anyone, even yourself. The door was never abandoned. It was only guarded carefully, patiently, until you were ready to walk through it as someone stronger than the person who first knocked. Whatever this waiting has cost you, it hasn't disqualified you from what's coming next. If anything, it's part of what will make the next chapter make sense. Not because pain is required, but because you kept your heart intact through something that could have easily hardened it. You are not alone tonight, even if it feels that way right now at this exact hour, in this exact quiet room. Your story is not finished, and somewhere close, quieter than you'd expect, closer than you think a door, is beginning to move. Walk toward it.